Welcome, these will be my thoughts on Runaways Season 2, Episode 6, Bury Another. The episode is rated TV-14, so this video there will be spoilers for the show leading up to and including this episode and possibly other MCU-adjacent stuff that had come out by the time this episode first premiered. And another episode that I love. So it's, most of Season 2 by now that I love. And let's start with some video recommendations. So let's see. Starting with FilmSpeak's Clayface will define the DCU. Legia Miller's Is Property Damage Ever Justified? Excellent video. I mean, all of these are. Ella Pastoral's Disney Will Never Give Us a Black Prince. Here's why. The Tabernacle, IDF Soldiers in Hollywood. New Rule for Comments by We Gonna Be Alright, and the Antibots Performative Christians Make Me Sick. And gonna try to keep this one more or less chronological. So I really appreciated they didn't leave us in suspense for too long about really several of the teases at the end of the episode before this one. Robert is okay. I thought they were going to do, it's comic book media, so I was a tiny bit worried. Like, I don't always hate that, but I think it would have been frustrating here. They don't do the amnesia thing, and he's also not, like, in a coma and who knows if he'll come out kind of thing. Those kind of soap opera tropes that a lot of comic book media trade in. But we also find out the thing with Gert, and she does indeed return to the remaining runaways relatively recent after. I think, let's see. I also really appreciated so Jonah, I'm starting to worry that he's holding a grudge over the times they tried to kill him. And I like the thing about this was all him though. We did not know that he was gonna do this. I mean, you didn't know the details, but I feel like you had some idea when he used the words "deal with" Jonah. I don't know. I just feel like the scientist couple were the ones. Well, I guess is it just him? At least one of the scientist couple members. Right, and I do realize there's technically more than one scientist couple. I feel like they're the scientist couple. I appreciate Victor is also a scientist, but we hadn't seen Janet do as much science until recently, whereas this couple had been from the start. Besides which, I'm less likely to forget the names of Janet and Victor, I feel like. Anyway, the scientist couple, at least one of them, protest against Jonah's assertion here. And I feel like they would have been more shocked if Robert had come back and been like, I offered him $5 million. He agreed. Like this, Now, I think that does bring us to the... So they all talk about, they get their different... they're told what he expects of them the day after tomorrow. Who is going to make ice chase people, who is going to, CG wolves in a very underwhelming way. Listen, I 100% agree. Climate change is real, man-made, and a huge problem. I don't think that movie did the cause any favors. Now, But it was compelling, seeing and he genuinely, he still feels like he can just order them around, and it is this thing of like, is he right? I don't know. I feel like there's probably something more going on at least, but I can appreciate the, I don't know. He didn't react like he had been caught in a lie. it seemed convincing when he said that and it is, I mean, it's one thing that okay, so the geologists were like studying, geology presumably, but they don't know about this alien ship. So I don't know, he might be right. And I think that is what brings us to Carolina talking to, and that's where my memory for the names ends. And my wrist are too sore to look it up right now, but yeah, the her mother. She talks to. That was another tease at the end of the episode for this one, and yeah, she learns that Jonah killed Amy, and spends the rest of the episode trying to figure out if she should tell Nico. And yeah, I'm really excited to see the fallout of that, because yeah, that definitely is, yeah. Right, and I think that is when we have the right. And okay, so the pedant in me did note that so we know Carolina is 17 years old, and she specifically says, you've had every day for the last 17 years to tell me the truth. I just want there to be an outtake where her mother says, well, technically, I told you the truth every day for the first year or so, but, babies don't form permanent memories like that, so what do you want me, And, yeah, Gert, we learned that she gave her name as Chase, and I think they did a good job of, we really only have that one bit with her. I mean, it is kind of played for laughs, but it's also like she's having to get out of a situation. The guy says, I never met a woman or girl named Chase, and then, she makes pretty much verbatim the same comment I might make. If that, once again, as long as they don't overdo it, then I don't think it's, I mean, it's just, I don't know. Am I being obnoxious by saying that I don't think she's exactly wrong about her statement? It's just like, I mean, at most you could say, I don't know. I think maybe also part of what works about it for me is that, technically her name isn't Chase, so it is like, it just, and yeah, when she gets nervous, she, will sometimes say something very, SJW. So yeah, let's see, and yeah, Janet shows up, and I will say that was a good misdirect, because like I was not entirely sure, because like, would Gert really go back to the scientist couple? And she does say later, that is absolutely not what she wants right now. And let's see, I think, yeah, so I think that's when we realized that that's when Alex and Nico talk. And yeah, I quite like the thing about, he says, I don't think I'm the right person to, talk about like forgiveness. I've been trying to make it up to you ever since, but you still haven't forgiven me. And she's like, maybe I should make another attempt. With Molly, I mean. That was great. That was a really good. I also liked his reaction. Like, right. I'm sorry. He really did screw up. And the actions have consequences. Let's see. I think that does it. Yeah. And so she goes into Molly's room, and the window's open, and I really love how they did this, because like, yeah, I too totally thought that she had run away again. Because like, would she be less likely to do that after Topher, or more? I don't know. I mean, part of me wonders if this is the time when she's most likely to. I mean, maybe at this point she'll just up and leave entirely if she feels like they're doing the wrong thing. They're getting people hurt, even killed. But yeah, in retrospect, I don't know. Maybe the room needed to be aired out, and it gets cold. Some rooms will get very cold when you air them out, so it's preferable not to be in the room while you're airing it out. That's not a big deal, but of course, yeah, she didn't realize how that would look to Nico. But yeah, and her little sarcastic remarks were just golden. Yeah, Nico runs around calling out her name, and we see her there with Old Lace. That was also great when Gert comforted Old Lace psychically. But the let's see, and saying protect Molly. I think she said something along those lines. But yeah, Nico, Molly does go up and say, here I am. And then, just this thing of like, oh, I'm sorry, am I not allowed to roam our home anymore? Would you give me a list of rooms that I'm not allowed to be in without your supervision? Like, I'm sorry. That is such pitch perfect, like, teenager who deep down knows they screwed up, but really doesn't want to admit it to their, I mean, in this case, not literal parent, but, I don't know. It's giving a little bit of like, Nico's the annoying older sister or something. So that's great. And yeah, the thing about like, I thought you had left. Nope. Gert and Chase though. Runaways, I think you have a problem with your runaways running aways. And yeah, we see Chase go to pick up Gert. And yeah, I do agree that Gert screwed up here. I really understand why he's upset, and I appreciate that the episode doesn't really try to like both sides it. Yeah, I mean, it's one thing that she needed her meds. He was willing to help. And for another, she certainly didn't have to, like, hypothetically, even if she wanted, if she was thinking the only way Janet is going to help me is if I promise her she can talk to her son. Well, once Janet has signed for the medication, tell her that you're willing to call Chase and ask him if he wants to talk to Janet, and then if he says yes, they can have a phone conversation, and if he says no, that's it. That would technically be a chance at Janet talking to Chase, but yeah. So the instead, and I do appreciate that Janet did tell them, Jonah is looking for another sacrifice, and she's worried it's going to be Chase, and she's not that far off. It ends up being Jeffrey, and the yeah. I think that's when they arrive at home. And so we have the thing of, yeah. So I've watched a number of pieces of media recently, shows primarily, where a character will say, please keep this secret. And then they like leave us in that tension for a little while before revealing. And frequently they do keep the secret. And here, I don't know, it was a little funny to me. I mean, I don't think they were going for tension, or not that kind of tension, not like the, what's it called, unreleased tension where we're not sure what's going to happen next, but more the tension of, well, it's out there now. He said to Molly the truth, and now, that, yeah, he really is very, very angry with Gert. And I really appreciate the anger comes out in that kind of way. I think it's important. Yeah, let me be careful with how I word this. So I want to acknowledge that there are sadly a number of people who end up becoming their parents, who end up doing the same bad things their parents do. That does sometimes include the offspring of one or more physically abusive parents, or otherwise abusive, becoming abusive themselves. But there are also a number of people who refuse to let that happen. And I do kind of get the sense that Chase, like based on earlier episodes, Chase would be the latter. I'm not saying he's never been violent, including unreasonably so, but I'm sorry, I really don't think he would actually physically assault Gert. And I appreciate they don't even have him threaten it. Like, I at no point in this episode did I feel like, oh, he's going to be that guy. You know, he's going to be the toxic ex who's like an abusive stalker. And yeah, but yeah, you know, she says, you know, I know it's not a great time to ask for a favor, but can you keep the secret? And Molly's like, so where'd you go? And Chase just like he's giving everything. And I liked her reaction. She's like, what? Like, just like, cause you know, I don't think it's a death. Yeah, it's like Death Proof. She heard. It's not that, but yeah, like she's baffled by that. And yeah, I think it works the way that you know. So happen to notice. I don't know. I thought there would be 10 episodes of the season, but I guess was there only 9 of season 1? I genuinely just don't remember. But yeah, I slipped in the new disc, and for all my problems with my with physical pain, a slipped disc is not one of them. I put in the DVD, is what I'm saying. And yeah, there's only 9 episodes, so that's just 3 more after this one. This is a really good time for them to go all the yeah. So it's what's the word? Lowest end in screenwriting terms, you know. So we've got couples breaking up. Although by the end of it, I guess I'm genuinely not entirely sure if Nico and Carolina, because like technically, Carolina did tell Nico about Amy almost immediately, but it's also one of those like, don't shoot the messenger. Like there's a reason that's a saying. There, you know, there is a human impulse to blame. You know, it's the lizard brain. We will connect a negative piece of information with the person who brought it to us, even if they didn't, like if they told us so that we would know the truth, you know, rather than to hurt us. But so it's possible that they're also split up. Anyway, oh yeah, I think that is actually around the time where so we've got the yeah, you know, Carolina is standing there trying to practice her powers, and Nico comes in, apologizes for interrupting, and yeah, it's very, very clear. You know, Nico pretty much comes right out and says later, like, I can tell you're hiding something from me. You know, you're trying to push me away so that, you know, you don't feel, you know, so weird about keeping it from me. And the yeah, you know, we have that conversation where it's like, I can understand both sides. You know, Nico is trying to make a case for the group effort, the training sessions, but Carolina is dealing with the, you know, I mean, in a way, she's feeling very alone. She knows where her family is now. She might meet them, but she's surrounded by found family who think that they should kill them all. You know, that is a very complicated situation, and she's, you know, how do you even begin to explain it? You know, so yeah, she keeps pushing her away, and that we get another quite good burn, as Nico says, "Have fun staring at yourself in the mirror." I guess I might have altered the wording slightly, and I think that is when she goes to talk to Alex, and yeah. I was at first a tiny bit worried that she was going to try to screw up the computer again. Yeah, I guess we still don't know for sure if she did or not. Has he checked? I don't know. But the but yeah. Let's see. She you know, she asks him for advice, and yeah, it is that thing of like he doesn't really want to give. like he doesn't have like some huge problem with Carolina personally, but the fact that he is being asked to provide. I mean, I feel like even before she says that that's what it is, he's frustrated that he wishes he was with Nico. And just earlier in this episode, Nico reiterated, "Oh, I super don't forgive you, by the way." So that's but yeah, I did like his reference. And hey, that was actually, I don't know. I just prefer when nerd references actually make sense rather than it just being a bunch of words that don't really, go together in a coherent. Yeah. So he says, "Of course I'll help. I'm just an NPC in the MMORPG that the rest of you are in." Yeah, I mean, that is a decent enough way to explain that. And I also like her being like, "I did not understand a word of that, but if you're busy, I will come back later." And the thing about, yeah, and I don't want it to make it too awkward. And then she brings up the they share a bed, and he's like, "Awkwardness, right, reaching dangerous levels." And he underlines that when it comes to Amy, you cannot keep anything from Nico. That is a bad idea. And I really appreciate that he specifically said that, because that is, yeah. Let's see. I think, is that when I think that's when they have the group meeting. And yeah, I really appreciated that, Molly specifies she can't believe that Gert would leave Old Lace and her, both of them. That is, yeah. And what was the other thing during the meeting? So yeah, they discuss about, what, yeah, where is Jonah going to get the sacrifice? And I really appreciated they were smart enough to realize it's got to be the church. And I think that's around the place where Chase is, gawning the fixing the fistigons. That's it. Too many F words. And and on a TV-14 rating, no less. And I did appreciate him pointing out, because she says, "I'm sorry, how many times do I have to say it?" And I was thinking what he was saying right before he said it. That's actually the first time you've said it. I mean, listen, most times I'm on Gert's side, but that is kind of and yeah, it's, I really appreciate when they make her a more layered character. Because like a bunch of the time she is right, at least in opinion. Like sometimes she'll handle a thing, not the best way, but genuinely having this, like, yeah, what's the word? The, let's see. Yeah, she is in the wrong here, and it is in part this thing of like, it can be difficult when you're dealing with, yeah. I mean, she had to quit mental health medication cold turkey, and yeah, it was really difficult for her. And let's see, I think that does. Right. Also, I think it was significant that, when they're asked, was it like, do you need different rooms or something like that? She immediately says no, and he says yes. She doesn't even ask him, and nor does she say, "I don't think so," or something. She just says no. She's answering for him, so that's, yeah. Let's see. I think that might just about, yeah, and he is not really ready to reconcile. And that is when yeah, that's when they go on the they go to the the church. Right. I also like the bit with the conversation between the yeah. So Leslie, that's her name. Leslie and Frank are, it's going well, and Jonah is trying to sabotage it, and they're not having it. And they say, well, you're gonna have to find your own sacrifice, and he does, because Jeffrey, is almost entirely alone. And right, I like the Mayweather reference. One of the only boxers I actually know the name of and reputation of. Not really into violent sports or sports in general, other than esports. And the let's see, well, not even that, honestly. But if I was going to be into one, it would probably be an esport. Anyway, the yeah, you know, I did feel a tiny bit like, so we see, I didn't hate the effect. I thought, part of it is, I thought they did a smart thing there by kind of hiding the effect a little bit behind all the steam, which also, like, of course, for one thing, of course, there's steam. The shower's been running hot for a little while now, and of course, he would make sure the shower was running hot for a little while because he wants steam, he wants cover. But it didn't look like Jeffrey couldn't see that something was, it's glowing, something's clearly approaching him. And I didn't really get the sense that he was like incapacitated by the, I don't know. This is a guy we've seen react very fast and smart many other times. So it felt a little bit, but sometimes that happens with special effect, showcase bits. And yeah, it was really nicely, very creepy seeing him drag Jeffrey like that. Physically, not verbally. And I think that does pretty much bring us to, so yeah, the Runaways go to the Giborim Church. Which reminds me, like, that was one thing I thought worked well in season 1, the heist kind of stuff. That time where, like, Gert has to distract. There's the whole thing with the elevator, and they're going up. I think that was when they were going for the recordings, maybe, for Pride, back when they wanted to reveal everything so they would be dealt with by the law. Something along those lines, that was, yeah. And I feel like this season, I mean, I don't know. I don't think they really had anything quite like that, but then there's been more where it's less heist and more like action. So maybe they felt like they did enough. They did what they wanted heist-wise in season 1, and now they wanted to do more action, which does fit. Season 1, they're just learning about their powers. By now, they've had a little more time to get used to them. Anyway, very clever that Carolina does the light show. That, of course, is going to distract a bunch of, I played enough Hitman 2016 to know, yeah, that's, well, by now, all of it. All of the, all of season 1, not the bonus levels. Anyway, I think that, but yeah, and they all go in there, and I appreciated the point about, hey, if we open this thing and let out Victor, well, it might be, that might harm him, actually. But yeah, they find out. And they we see the X-ray goggles used again. Those, very nicely done. I don't think they've used those since season 1, so good to see them see some more use. And yeah, they realize, okay, that's definitely Jonah. We got to open this other one. And I kind of like that bend to my will apparently was interpreted as, oh, you literally want me to bend just a little bit, like, I mean, it's also turned off by the spell, but yeah. And Molly does her thing, first tears the thing open and then carries Jeffrey out of there. And yeah, Chase saying, he's keeps having to say goodbye to his parents this day. Just, yeah. Oh, right. Also, I thought it was compelling, the bit where Janet, she thinks the scientist couple are going to be happy that Gert is safe. And she even like says, "Can you believe that Gert and Chase might be an item?" And like, yeah, just evidently her PhD is not in reading the room, because I felt like their body language and silence spoke volumes, personally. But yeah, they are understandably very upset. And let's see, I think that... Right, I also like, I appreciate it, you know. I swear the name is right on it. Catherine, that's it. Catherine calling and like threatening to kill him, and then saying, "Okay, I'm sorry, maybe that's going too far. I just mean, please let me know you're safe." That also felt very in character for her. And so how healed is Jonah? Because normally the other person is just completely, yeah. Which was not the case. Jeffrey is alive, seems well even. Like, he struggles to get out of the, of course he can't get out of the restraints they put him in, but like he doesn't even seem like exhausted or anything. So I wonder if Jonah's going to need another sacrifice, although I suppose at this point he'd probably have an easy time getting one now that he can pass again. He doesn't, he doesn't look, scary. Well, I mean, Julian McMahon, some degree of, like, some base level of always looking scary is present, of course, but now I think that does bring us to the right. I like the when they talk about like, well, what's our job? We gotta make a banner for you or something. And let's see. I guess that is when Jeffrey wakes up and Alex throws his own words back in his face. That's like what you said earlier. I'm sorry, I don't think that's going to be the last. I finally watched The Emperor's New Groove, and yeah, I mean, I probably don't have to tell you, I absolutely loved it. Like, if I don't know if you still need anybody to tell you that you should watch that. If you in general enjoy animated Disney, yeah, add me to the list. Obviously, I'm not a fan of them as like a company. Their business practices, as many other large corporations, are horrible. But I don't know. I credit the writers and animators, not the studio, executives and such. Anyway, I mean, it didn't exactly hurt that I'm already a huge fan of the four, you know, the actors who play the four biggest characters in that movie. So, yeah. Other than, obviously, I'm not making excuses for, actually, come to think of it, wait, is David Spade one of the ones who's really bad? I know some of Adam Sandler's buddies are pretty bad when it comes to politics. I forget if David Spade is one of them, but I find him incredibly funny. Under the right circumstances, in that movie was one of them. Anyway, I think that does bring us to, but yeah, he says this thing about, you're under my roof now, so it's my rules. And yeah, the thing about, like, well, you kidnapped me, I kidnap you. And that is also, like, considering how testy he can be in this episode, I am a little bit worried about what he's thinking there. And I mean, under these circumstances, is he going to believe? Because, like, we know, if Jeffrey says it would be the truth, if Jeffrey tells him, listen, we're trying to stop Jonah, we don't like what we were doing, we wish we could take it back, we're going to help you. We've been doing, I don't know if Alex is going to believe it. And I guess that does bring us to that last little bit with, yeah, I appreciate Nico pointing out how creepy it would be if Carolina did just stand there watching her sleep. And the thing about like, well, if it's the only way that we can fall asleep, we should get rest, you know. So you have to have the you know the nasty dinosaur pillow. Okay, fine, I'll take it if you're gonna be so dramatic about it. That's a pretty funny way to lead into, because it's, you know, it's about to be a really yeah, important dramatic bit of major revelation there. So yeah, that yeah, I'm genuinely really worried what's gonna. I mean, I think she was already okay with the idea of Jonah ending up dead at the end of this, but I'm worried that it's going to, you know, I mean, so far she is still the leader of the Runaways. You know, there was the thing about like she offered Alex to help take over, and he said he was okay with, you know, what he was doing. So now I think right, and I do also appreciate like part of the, you know, reason it's a little difficult between him and Nico. You know, he's also not fond of how the whole Topher thing ended up. Yeah, really excited to see what happens next, and I don't know. I should probably not say it too many times because I'm gonna look a fool if it ends up not being the case. But so I'm not like betting on it right now. This is not like a, what's that called, poly market. Horrifying. If you haven't already watched, I already recommended it in a recent video, but it bears repeating. Some more news. What was it called again? Something about like something with gambling, and it's a recent video. They talk about, yeah. So that's if you don't know why I call Polymarket horrifying, the answer is in that video. But the I'm not betting on it, but I would not rule out that by the end of this season, the whole thing with Jonah will have been either completely resolved or have entered a brand new stage. I certainly do think they're really going to have to do some heavy lifting to keep, like, you know, keep the tension simmering for another entire season. If that's, or I guess it could be a mid-season thing for season 3, maybe. But yeah, I don't know, because you know, Jonah said the day after tomorrow, and the Runaways are, you know, they know a lot about what's going on now, and yeah. But I did also quite like, you know, I mean, I wouldn't. So yeah, the scene where, you know, Jonah, you know, drops off Robert and tells everyone what he expects them to do. I was a little bit surprised that Jeffrey, of all people, would be the one to be like, teacher, you forgot to assign us homework.